So day 2 started, and I'm gonna run back down to Kissimmee, do this whole same thing. I get down there, and I knew there was some pad bite stuff going on, and I know that was for, after talking to people and seeing how everything was shaping out, that was the best way for me to catch a big bag. My buddy Hallman had already caught an 8-pounder flipping. I know guys had been doing it, but it was just so hard to get on that bite sometimes. Like, it's so hit or miss. There's millions of pads and very few places not to do it, but you just got to find that one little patch. So I go back down to Kissimmee, start in the grass, only catch one. That'll be a bass. I don't know what that is. I don't think that's a bass at all.
Hopefully it's not a grunnel.
Huh?
Hopefully not a grunnel.
And it's not a bass.
It looked like a grunnel almost, but
Yeah, that's what I think it is too. Nope.
cat.
Yeah.
Shit, I just got tagged by something.
You what?
I just got tagged with something.
You need it.
He didn't hit it, he just got in the way of it.
Huh?
He didn't hit it, he got in the way of it.
No, he hit it pretty hard. But it was a good one. It was like a 3 something, and which is crazy too, because I caught like a 6-pound catfish in there. But Florida's one of them deals where you put your head down when you know there's fish around. Now, there was some boats in there, and I never saw another person catch a fish while I was in there. But I tried to sneak off. Like, there's like, usually in Florida, there's like really good areas, and then there's like little bitty areas off to the side that might be good. And I had this one little section that I thought was a little good, and I hadn't really seen anybody mess with it that much. It was, when I say that, there's just rows and lanes of pads, like for hundreds of yards in every direction, and so you can't fish at all. And it's like needle in a haystack deal. Well, I kind of went through one little spot where I just hadn't really seen anyone in 2 or 3 days, and you'll see I flipped up.
never even felt to me. I just looked up and I was like, there's a swirl right there. I set the hook.
In the pads or on the open?
Just that kind of like right in the pads. I looked up there and I'm like, man, there's a swirl right there. I mean, this has got to be a fish.
Yeah, I flipped up over there and I caught that one flipping, but it went on a bed, and I know because I saw her swirl when I flipped up in there, and it was my biggest one. It was like a 4 something, 4.5. So now I had a 3 and a 4.5 to start the day off with, and those aren't big ones, but they're very hard fish to catch because you usually catch little bitty ones or great big ones. The 3 and 4 pounders are like that; those are like the hardest fish to catch on Toho or Kissimmee. So after I catch that one, I'm sitting here going, man, I just got to catch 3 little small fish. That's 4 to 5 extra pounds. I'll get a check. My points will be good. And it's early in the morning. Let me go catch them and then see what happens. So I run it back to where I caught them on a cutter worm the day before. And I start going through there, and I even go slower this time. Just like, not reeling slower, but just moving slower. And nothing. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And there's no one around. So I finally get up there and I catch one, like a 13-incher. I throw back out there, catch another 13-incher. They weren't even on arrowheads. They're in just one little section. And I go a little bit longer and I catch another one. So then now I have a limit. And I'm like, and I'm like, man, these just aren't big right here. So I knew there was some grass out further. So I'm like, I'm gonna go head out to that grass in the middle of the day, sunny. I hadn't been catching them like that, but it just seemed different. So I get out there, start messing around. grass. I can't really say what I was throwing because it's still a prototype from Strike King, but I ended up catching another 3-pounder out there. So now I've got 2 3s and a 4, and that just doesn't, like I said, those 3s, those are good fish to where if you catch a big one, now you have a really giant bag. So a guy comes in there, and I'm kind of watching him. He goes right to where I caught 2 little ones. And I'd caught some exact same, the exact same arrowheads the day before. He pulls up to him, starts throwing a little worm, real slow, catches a fish. He does it again, catches a fish. Little ones. Does it again, catches a fish. I'm like, golly, he's throwing in 2 foot of water at an arrowhead that's not much bigger than this right here. And I'm like, they're on beds, That's what it's going through my head. And then he bows up one, and it is a monster. And he loses it at the boat. I guarantee it's over 7. And so he sat right there and caught like 3 or 4 more and then left. And there was a guy coming down the bank, a local, that started coming down the bank to the other arrowheads that I'd been catching them on. I'm like, I need to go back over there and fish down that bank slower, and see if I can pop one more, And so I went back over there, and the local went further that way, and he was going that way, and I came back the way I wanted to come. And so I fished down, and I ended up just catching just one. Now, I was like, all right, let me get back out there on that grass again. So I went back out there to the grass to figure it out. But I gotta let y'all know, there's 2 big sets there's 2 pad sets right there, right by me. And I've been looking at them. I had to trolling motor right past them. And I looked at them, I'm like, not yet though. I'm gonna keep grass fishing. Because if I catch them in the grass, I might catch a monster bag real quick. So I tried to make the grass thing work, didn't work, and all of a sudden I see another guy coming down, and he's kind of fishing everything in between. And I'm like, golly, I better get on them pads before anyone else does. So I trolled right to him, and like I said, I was only 2 casts away, but I just didn't, he was 100 yards away, but I just didn't want him to get on them pads, So I got on them pads, and I started fishing, and man, within 10 minutes, I get a bite on it, but I missed it, and you'll see. So I flipped in there, and about 4 casts later, got another bite. Same cast. And I'm like, that fish is on a bed. And I'm like, it's happening. And that's where it all, it went down. So y'all gotta understand is the grass fishing, even though I caught some, I caught less on day 2. And I finally did get a bite flipping a pad. It's just one, but it seemed like just a little bit, maybe more, majority of them went to the pads. And then all of a sudden, now I go to this place, and the day before they were crushing a cutter worm, right? And my guy was flipping behind me and could not get a bite flipping. Could not, when he slowed down, he would not get a bite. To me, that let me know that they were just getting up there. They were maybe making beds, but at that time they're really aggressive sometimes, and they'll just bite anything that comes around. And now on day 2, they wouldn't bite that thing. They'd all locked down pretty much on beds. And so you basically, you really cutter worm by one, it just sees it. Now it's like you had to drop it in their bed. So it's all clicking now, right? So I get on these pads, and now that I finally had a fish bite twice on the same, I know it's on a bed even though I can't see it. So I fish like 20 casts in there, and I catch it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So I cull real quick, a cast or two later, one eats it, and I set the hook. It's the only fish I missed in 2 days. I boated up just for a second, and it come off. Why it so bothers me so much is nine times out of 10, that is a giant. It's the female, and that was maybe my chance to make the cut. I don't know how big it was. Maybe it was only a 3-pounder, but in Florida, chances are it was a big one, and it was on a, it was a big one and that was a female. So I never could get her to bite again, but I kept on working those pads. I think I ended up catching 6 fish out of those pads. And you can see this pad bed I'm on. I mean, it is small, but I mean, I just went as slow as possible around these 2 little patches of pads. Didn't catch anything giant, but I mean, I kept culling. I mean, I bet you I culled 6 times. And this is a game of ounces, right? I mean, so I might have gotten 10 more places because of that, which 10 more places at the end of the year might mean if I qualify for the elites or not. So that was my deal. Really cool to see how it all panned out, like why certain days were bad. And day 2 was better than day 1 for everyone. Like day 1, the weights were bad. Day 2, they were better overall. And it's weird how you could see that progressing. Luckily, I was on the right end of it, and I kept progressing with it. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's just paying attention. Sometimes, you know, I could see it happening. But you know, you have to have things go your way. You have to be in the right place at the right time. And like I said, I was in a good little area, and luckily was fortunate enough to see that. And then, you know, like I said, no one else wanted to fish those pads, and no one else wanted to do any of that. Everyone had opportunities to earlier. they just didn't look at it like I did, I guess. And so it was cool that I got a chance to do all that, and hopefully you'll see that. And I think I say all this because these are the things. Sometimes baits matter, right? Certain times of the year baits really matter. Certain